Greetings 365ers. We have reached the 9-week mark of our year-long journey in the Word. Genesis, Job, Exodus, Leviticus, those are all shrinking in the rear-view mirror as we find ourselves in the heart of Numbers.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
How's that going? If you dropped out at the start of Numbers because you found yourself lost in, well, the Lord spoke to Moses. Take a census of the whole Israelite community by their clans and families, listing every man by name, one by one. And so he counted them in the desert of Sinai. The number from the tribe of Reuben was 46,000. From the tribe of Simeon, from the tribe of Gad, one by one. From the tribe of Judah, listed by name. From the tribe of Issachar, all the men. From the tribe of Zebulun, 57,400, 40,500, 62,700. Today's episode was brought to you by the numbers, well, all of them. As I was saying, if you dropped out in that section, get back in here. Numbers is about more than just counting. No, I know your teacher says that about math. Calculus is fun, but I mean it. There's a lot to love. There are so many exciting stories in this part of the Bible, stories that reveal something to us about the God that we love. So hang in there. Hey, Sunday's reading even has a talking donkey.
All right, I get it. I'm just so darn bored.
Hey now, donkey. We covered this last week. Just because something isn't entertaining doesn't mean it's not valuable. Besides, there's no counting in today's reading. Yesterday, we came to this critical part of the story. For the last few weeks, we've been reading about the time Israel spent at Mount Sinai as God gave them the law, as they built the tabernacle. Now they're on the move again, right up to the border of the promised land. So God tells Moses, "Send some men to explore the land of Canaan, which I am giving to the Israelites. From each ancestral tribe, send one of its leaders." So he does. He tells them, "See what the land is like, and whether the people who live there are strong or weak, few or many. What kind of land do they live in? Is it good or bad? What kind of towns do they live in? Are they unwalled or fortified? How is the soil? Is it fertile or poor? Are there trees in it or not?" Spies. Moses tells them to go in there to see what the land is like, to see what the people are like, to see what they are up against. Oh, and he has one other request. Do your best to bring back some of the fruit of the land. It was the season for the first ripe grapes. I love that. Go, observe our enemies. Find their weaknesses. Don't let yourselves be seen. Oh, and we're out of fruit, so if you see a grocery store, can you swing by there and pick some up? And chips too, if there's a good sale. Moses, you're prepping for a major invasion, not a fruit salad. Anyway, the spies go, inspect the land, and then come back. And yes, they brought the fruit. When they reached the valley of Eshcol, they cut off a branch bearing a single cluster of grapes. 2 of them carried it on a pole between them, along with some pomegranates and figs. 2 of them carried it on a pole, a single cluster of grapes. Okay, I know this seems like a small point, but I think there's something particularly juicy here. Get it? Juicy grapes? Oh, come on, you like it. Don't whine. Whine? Get it? Those are some massive grapes. I've never seen a cluster of grapes so big that I would need help carrying it. This land is fertile. It's lush. It's flowing with milk and honey. It's God's gift to them. All they have to do is take it. But grapes aren't the only thing the spies found. They report. The people who live there are powerful, and the cities are fortified and very large. We can't attack these people. They are stronger than we are. The land we explored devours those living in it. All the people we saw there are of great size. We seemed like grasshoppers in our own eyes, and we looked the same to them. And today we find out what the people had to say about the spies' report. We're in Numbers chapter 14. When the people heard these things, well, If only we had died in Egypt or in this wilderness. Why is the Lord bringing us to this land only to let us fall by the sword? Our wives and children will be taken as plunder. Wouldn't it be better for us to go back to Egypt? They panicked. They looked ahead and they saw nothing but doom. Have you ever been there? Have you ever looked at all of the things you had to do, all of your work, all of your responsibilities, all of the consequences, all of the obstacles, and felt in your heart that there was no hope? For some of us, finding hope is a daily struggle. For other people, it seems to come easily. You tell them about all of your troubles. You spill your heart to them, and they tell you, hey, cheer up, toughen up. You pour out your heart, and they come back at you with,
That's when you can play the glad game.
Pollyanna would tell us to find the good. But this is about so much more than just happiness. It's about hope. Hope is not about wishing things were better. Hope is about trusting God, even when something seems impossible. For all things are possible with God. It's tough to talk about hope without thinking of Star Wars, Episode 4, A New Hope. If a story ever seemed hopeless, it's that one. You have an empire, well-funded, with a massive moon-sized, planet-destroying weapon of mass destruction versus a ragtag group of rebels flying 2 squadrons of outdated starfighters. And the bar was set low enough that no one thought twice about sending an untested farm boy to fly one of them. What were they thinking?
An analysis of the plans provided by Princess Leia has demonstrated a weakness in the battle station.
The rebels saw things differently. They believed. They trusted that the Force was with them. They saw with eyes of hope. Eyes that could see thermal exhaust ports. Eyes that weren't blinded by giant enemies and giant weapons. Eyes powered by hope. In our passage, not all of the spies were blinded by these giants and their armies. 2 of them, Caleb and Joshua, had their eyes set on God and on God's promises. The land we passed through and explored is exceedingly good. If the Lord is pleased with us, He will lead us into that land, a land flowing with milk and honey, and will give it to us. Only do not rebel against the Lord, and do not be afraid of the people of the land, because we will devour them. Their protection is gone, but the Lord is with us. Do not be afraid of them. Where others saw doom, they saw milk and honey. Where others saw giants, they saw giant grapes on a pole carried by 2 guys. And I wouldn't be surprised if those 2 guys were Joshua and Caleb. But the people fall prey to fear. They ignore the promise, the gift, and so they will spend the next 40 years wandering in the wilderness. None of them will ever set foot in the promised land. Well, none of them except Caleb and Joshua. But that is a story for another day. For today, I leave you with this challenge. See the world through eyes that trust God and not yourself. See the world through eyes that see the giant grapes, that see the thermal exhaust ports, that see the many ways God is at work, the many ways impossible things are happening every day. Where do you have a hard time seeing God at work? When do things seem hopeless to you? Where do you look back at your life and see that God was working in ways you never imagined? Let's talk about that in the comments. Grace and peace.